Commissioner Kivanian?
Here.
Commissioner Lamel?
Here.
Commissioner Monassarian?
Here.
Commissioner Punlaki?
Here.
Commissioner Sobey?
Here.
Commissioner Walker?
Here.
Chair Curlin.
Here. Please have agenda for
The agenda for the May 12, 2008 meeting was posted on the bulletin board outside of City Hall on or before May 9th, 2008.
next item.
Agenda item 4, introductions and presentations. I'd like to introduce Ms. Nikki Bonner from Zonta International, Burbank chapter. And Ms. Bonner is currently the president of the Burbank chapter of Zonta International. She's here to tell you a little bit about this fantastic international organization.
Welcome. Well, hi, good evening, everybody. It's really nice to be here, and thank you, Lana, for the invitation. It's always a pleasure to be able to talk about Zonta, but particularly to a group of women whose obviously our causes are aligned, and so it's a wonderful opportunity. Thank you for having me. I just want to correct the introduction a little bit. I'm a past president of the Burbank Club. I'm not the current president of the Burbank Club. I am, however, the incoming area director for Zonta for Area 3, which is this part of the world, and I will be sort of coordinating the activities of the Zonta Club of Burbank, Pasadena, Santa Clarita, Antelope Valley, and Conejo Valley, and Los Angeles over the next 2 years. Zonta is a service club. We are not unlike Rotary and the others, not as well known, although we have been around for a long time. And I brought this little PowerPoint presentation just to sort of liven it up a little bit. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. I'm going to give you an overview of the organization. You've all received a pamphlet on the desk. We have a wonderful international website, and if at the end of this you would like any more information about anything that we do, I urge you to go to the international website because it's a wonderful resource. Can we put up full screen? Zonta is an international organization. We have chapters all over the world, and you will. What you're seeing here is just a sort of little overview of pictures from all sorts of areas of the world where we do service projects. Our mission: we are a global organization of executives and professionals working together to advance the status of women worldwide through service and advocacy. Our vision is to envision a world in which women's rights are recognized as human rights and every woman is able to achieve her full potential. In such a world, every woman is literate and has access to education, health care, legal and economic resources on an equal basis with men. In such a world, no woman lives in fear of violence. These are the sort of principles by which we operate, and we keep those things in mind as we operate both at the international level and also in our own communities. A little bit about our history. This is the first Zonta Club, this group of lovely women here. In 1919, started Zonta. There was a woman who was a journalist in Buffalo named Marion DeForest, who was the woman who had the idea to start a women's service club, and it was her vision and her energy that brought this group of women together, and they started the first club there. And then after that, we expanded the national headquarters in 1928. In 1946, we got consultative status with the United Nations. We were one of the original NGOs at the UN. And then you can see from there how we expanded around the world. And we continue to expand around the world. This is a sort of overview of our membership. Although we started in the United States, most of our members now, or a great percentage of them, as you can see, are in Europe and Africa, and those are the areas where we experience the greatest expansion right now. In the Americas, we have membership challenges, as do many service organizations, but here you can see how our membership is distributed around the world. 1,200 clubs, 33,000 members in 67 countries. We run on a biennial structure where we do everything in 2-year blocks. So right now we're in the 2006-2008 biennium. We have an international convention coming up in the end of June, and that will begin the next biennium. So we're coming to the end of this biennium. So what you're seeing here are going to be the goals and the service projects that we have been working on the last 2 years. Our goals for this biennium were, of course, service and advocacy, because they're at the root of what we do. We're also working very hard on credibility, identity, and visibility, because our organization has suffered from a lack of visibility, and many people don't realize what we do. We want to become bigger players in the world of advocacy. We're very well known internationally, very well known at the United Nations, because we've been part of that group of NGOs for many years. We are in many ways probably more influential at that level sometimes than we are at the local level. So we are all working very hard to try and improve those, and that's why it's a pleasure to be here this evening, because this fits right into the things we're trying to do to gain our visibility. We're also working on our membership, because of course the more members we have, the more great things we can do. So we're always working on that. Our service programs focus on 3 areas: education, health, and the eradication of violence against women. Our service projects for this biennium: we have partnered with CARE International on an education and leadership program for girls and young women in Bolivia. I'm not going to go into great details about these programs. You can get the information on the international website, but we do partner with other organizations, and these are organizations that already have infrastructure in place to be able to carry out these programs. So we provide financial support to these programs. We also have worked on with the United Nations Industrial Development Organization on this program here on the revival of rural community-based self-help initiatives in Sri Lanka. This involves microfinance. This involves health initiatives. Another project with CARE, Women on the Move. This is an HIV/AIDS program in Niger, or Niger, depending on your pronunciation. And then we have also worked with the Afghan Institute of Learning, developing community-based efforts to educate Afghan women and girls. And of course, education is a huge part of the issues in that part of the world. We are also in our advocacy. We have, in this biennium, issued international position papers, as you can see there, and also international resolutions. And these are in support of our advocacy, and they give us, these are things that we contribute to our advocacy efforts at the United Nations. We also have a very robust scholarship program. The Amelia Earhart Fellowship is the most well-known. And as you can see there, since 1938, we've given out 1,192 fellowships. Amelia Earhart was a Zontian. It was the only service organization that she belonged to. She was a member of the Zona Club of New York. And when she was lost in her plane, Zonta honored her by creating this fellowship. These fellowships are awarded to women who are studying aerospace and science. They literally are rocket scientists. They're a truly amazing group of women. And every year we award these fellowships. And I've been fortunate to hear many of these women speak and seen these presentations made. And they just take your breath away. They are so inspiring. And these, we receive many letters and thank yous that describe the difference that these fellowships have made in their education. And the Amelia Earhart Fellows represent all nationalities from all over the world. The second one, the Jane Klausman Women in Business Award. Jane Klausman was a Zontian. When she passed away, she left Zonta a substantial endowment for these scholarships. And that is awarded annually, and also the Young Women in Public Affairs Award, which is the goal there to inspire young women to go into public affairs and dedicate themselves to the advancement of women. This is our international board. Our international headquarters is in Chicago, and this is a group of women from all over the world, and they are elected at our convention every 2 years. The lady in the peach jacket in the front row there is Olivia Ferry. She's from the Philippines, and she's the current president. The lady in the white jacket is Beryl Sten. She's from Sweden, and she is the incoming president of the organization. She will take over in June at the convention. The lady on the right in the gold jacket is Diane Curtis, and she's from Santa Clarita, and she's our local representative on the international board. And we're hoping Diane is running for she is currently vice president, and she's running for president-elect at the convention. So we're all kind of rooting for Diane to become make her way toward president of Zonta International. That would be a great honor for us. This is our own Burbank Zonta Club. We're a small but mighty group. And we have a number of local service projects. Up in the top left corner, you'll see a picture that was taken just a couple of weeks ago when we awarded our annual scholarships to high school students. We awarded 5 scholarships to seniors going on to post-secondary education. And they're always a wonderful and inspiring group. And we also annually give book donations to elementary schools. We support Burbank Family Services. Those are two educational initiatives there. We try to keep our local service in line with our international service. Our effort toward the eradication of violence against women is through supporting Burbank Family Services. They are a shelter, and we provide financial support to them annually. What we do for them varies depending on their needs, but we've worked with them for years, and we have quite a close relationship with them. We also work with Burbank Temporary Aid Center. We did toiletry bags and a blanket donation at Christmas. I think that's us packing them up in the right corner there, which we did at our holiday party. And we join with other groups and do Christmas hampers as well. And there's a group of us there in the picture below. The pictures aren't very big, but we have we have a lot of fun. And how do we raise our money? Well, we have the annual Women of the Year luncheon, and we raise a lot of money from this. So there's some of the people that we've honored in recent years. Mary Albert, the city manager in Burbank, being the most recent, up there at the top. And then on the right is Adam Schiff honoring Mary Alice O'Connor, who you may or may not know, but she is like Burbank's oldest volunteer by age and length of service. She's everyone knows her, and she has just done remarkable things for the city over the years. And so we honored her a few years ago. On the left is on the left side, the lady in the white jacket is T.J. Bapty. She was the vice president of community relations for the Walt Disney Company, and she, of course, has did wonderful things. I think she's retired now, but she did wonderful things with Disney and helping to support things in the city of Burbank. And then in the other picture there is Sister Lucille Dean we honored, and she was the principal of Providence High School in Burbank, and again somebody who turned around a school, and we honored her the year that she retired. Locally, our local advocacy, of course, we were very much happy to be part of Project 5.0, and that was a great honor for us, and we're depending on what happens with Project 5.0, we look forward to continuing that relationship. We regularly seek proclamations from the Burbank City Council to raise awareness for breast cancer, events such as International Women's Day, those kinds of things. We get great publicity from that, and so we do that quite often, and then we also promote awareness of women's achievements through elementary book school donations, and elementary school book donations. We this year we donated 2 books. One was the woman's name has gone out of my mind. Anyway, one was about a woman who was America's first sculptor. She was also a spy for the Patriots during the Revolutionary War. So, very interesting story. The other one was about Althea Gibson, who was an African-American woman who became she won Wimbledon as a tennis player, and she was also in the LPGA golf tour. And she did that at a time where it was very difficult for African-American and women in general to be well-known in sports. So anyway, there's a lovely book that's been written about her, and we donated that book to the Burbank schools this year. As I mentioned before, we have an international convention every 2 years. The picture you see there is the opening ceremony from the 2006 convention in Melbourne. And we've got another one coming up in Rotterdam starting on the 28th of June. These are remarkable events. They bring in, hundreds and hundreds of women, thousands from all over the world. There's a lot of pageantry. The opening ceremonies, there's a parade of flags. Everyone wears their national costumes. It's just something that, I've been to two of them, and they're sort of events that you never forget once you've been there. But it also gives you a sense of the power of women when they come together. Zonta is very much an organization where the whole is so much greater than the parts. When you're a member of a local club, you really don't you really don't have a sense of what's being accomplished in the big picture. But when you get in a room like that with all these women from all over the world, it really inspires you, and you really realize that when we all get together, what we can all accomplish is just phenomenal. And now I'm going to give just a slight shameless little plug here for membership, because, and I won't go through these, but it's a great organization to belong to. I've been a member since 1987, and I have friends all over the world as a result of it. And I've always enjoyed about it. I'm a journalist. I've been in television news my whole career, and I've always sort of been working in international news and local news all at the same time. And I think part of the attraction to Zonta was always the fact that you were sort of working on both all the time. And so anyway, it's a great organization. It's because you can do local service and combine it and feel as though you've made an impact globally as well. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you. And the women you see up here are Zontans in Denmark, and they are all holding yellow roses. And yellow roses are Zonta's symbol. And on International Women's Day, we all do something with yellow roses. And so I guess that club in Denmark was probably giving them out or doing something. We plant a yellow rose somewhere in Burbank every year on International Women's Day. And Burbank is, various gardens in Burbank are spotted with yellow roses. So that's kind of our little symbol all through. Does anyone have any questions?
I do. Do you know if Burbank has passed CEDA?
I do not, but I can ask that question. I'm not sure that they have.
Okay. And also, it occurs to me you're close enough to us that there might be some opportunities for partnership, since you have an overlap. Obviously, we focus on the local area, and you have the international focus, but you also have a local focus. There may be some opportunities for partnership, so I would hope we could think about that as we do our events in the coming year to maybe see if you'd be interested in partnering with us.
We would welcome that opportunity, absolutely.
Anybody else?
Ms. Bonner, do you have any local service projects that our audience might be interested in? If they're on your website, I won't ask any questions, but I was just wondering if there are any that you might, want the audience to participate in, or...
I think that right now I'm thinking of things that are coming up. It would probably, the next major thing, we kind of go into a sort of a darker period in the summer. We still meet in the summer, but we're not quite as busy. The next major thing we would have coming up would be our Woman of the Year luncheon in November. And it's generally the first Saturday in November. I don't have the date off the top of my head, but certainly I would... that's a wonderful event, and if people would, we would welcome anyone either attending the event or helping us with it. And we are always looking for people who are willing to help with donations and sponsorships and things like that associated with that. So that would sort of be the next major thing on the that we have coming up. Our service agenda for next year, we actually run on a June to May 30th fiscal year. So our service priorities for next year are just being set now. So I'll send Lana that information once we've got it set. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
I have a question. What is the cost of membership, and where do you meet?
We meet on the third Wednesday of the month at the Holiday Inn in Burbank at the Media Center there, with the Holiday Inn with the elevator that goes up the outside. And the cost of membership is, let me think about this now, $360 a year, and that includes dinners. That includes 10 dinners, okay, because our meetings are dinner meetings. So that includes dinners as well. So the actual organization membership is something like $150, and the rest of it is dinner dues.
Is there a way that, youth girls can be involved in your event, and if there's a board like here at the commission where we can be a part of the event in the community?
We always welcome young people who would like to work with us. We love to have student volunteers for things like our Woman of the Year luncheon in November. We welcome student volunteers for that. Zonta actually has something called Z Clubs, and they are Zonta clubs for high school girls. And where there are many Z clubs in existence. Unfortunately, we don't have one in Burbank. We used to, but we don't have one currently. But if you're interested in Z clubs, I can certainly give you more information about that because there are some wonderful Z clubs operating in high schools. But that is Zonta International's, that is their mechanism for including young women in Zonta is through Z clubs.
Any other questions? Thank you so much for coming. That was great.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Next item on the agenda is item 6, consent items. A is approval of the minutes of the regular commission meeting held on April 14, 2008. Yes.
We skipped agenda item 5, oral comment.
Oh,
That can just be read into the record.
I checked it off.
We have no speakers, but just to read it into the record.
You want to go ahead and do that?
Sure. Agenda item 5 is oral comment, and we have no cards.
Okay, great, thank you. So on to 6A, approval of the minutes from April 14, 2008. Does anyone have any changes to the minutes?
Changes.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the minutes as submitted?
I so move.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there unanimous consent?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, the minutes are approved. Next item on the agenda, 7, business agenda, 7A, action items. Item 1, consideration and discussion regarding the May 2008 event, Women at the Table, how to get appointed to a citizen board or commission. And we do have a motion to provide direction to staff regarding the Women at the Table event. So if you'll turn your attention to the golden flyers. Ms. Haddad made these today. She'll be sending us the flyer electronically. Yay! It's a great flyer. Thank you. So that we can disseminate this to everyone. I think this is one of the most important events we could be doing in the community. So in the leadership arena, which is what we've talked about doing for a long time, and now we're finally getting the opportunity to move in that direction. So I'm feeling short on time because it's next week. So it would be great if we could all apply ourselves to getting the word out through our different mailing lists to get people in. There's a lot of people who want to get involved but don't quite know how, and this is the event for them. But I digress. Would you like to give us a brief report of where we're at so far on the event?
Certainly. Actually, most of the logistics are in place. The main items that are awaiting commission direction are what kind of budget and services would you like to provide in addition to the set schedule, which at this point is going to be held at the Alex Theater forecourt on May 21st from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Various representatives from all the different city boards and commissions have been contacted and will be present to participate at the event just to answer questions, to talk about their particular jurisdiction and scope of each commission. For example, DRB will be providing visual displays of the work that happens once something gets through the design review process. This event will really reinforce why women's voices are integral in the public process, and also how diversity in the process really leads to a better final product in the end, whether it's a public policy or a design review. So that diversity and multiplicity of voices is actually integral to our city's well-being and our community's health. The event schedule, as stated, was May 21st from 6 to 7:30. 6 to 6:30 is going to be networking and a reception. The food is up for a commission direction. The commission will be providing opening remarks, and the League of Women Voters will do a brief piece on the importance of political participation. The city clerk has very generously agreed to give his time and do a how-to primer on how to apply and get appointed, the basics of service, the basics of the application process. And then also he'll be providing packets of information for everybody who is interested that are specific to boards and commissions in the city. Each individual board and commission can have information that is relevant specific to its particular jurisdiction and scope. The city clerk, with regards to the budget, the city clerk is also going to be underwriting the labor costs for setup and takedown at the event. So right now what we're looking for is direction with regards to the expenses that were outlined here. In addition to a few things that have come up since this report was published, and I'll just go ahead and tell you right now that includes if the commission would like to, I can follow up with GTV6 to see if there's someone available to tape the event or not, but that is a budgetary concern. There is a cost for that. So that's going to be something that's up for your direction and consideration.
Just so you know, what we talked about is having about 2 commissions at each table and have the tables all set up so people can sort of mill about. There'll be table signage so they can either target a particular commission they might be interested, or they can just go from table to table and get information from the different commissions. We've asked each commission to prepare something that indicates, a little bit of a fact sheet about themselves and what openings there are, so people know, like, this one may not have openings, but it will in the future, or this one definitely has openings at this time. So what we want to do is just help educate people about this process, how you get involved and how you get on a commission, because we know that these can be stepping stones in the political arena. We don't have any women on city council, and people ask us about that all of the time. And you don't generally just run from the public from being involved in your neighborhood or something for something like city council. So you need to do some work and do in the community. And these are important steps, or like us, you like your commission and you want to work just at the commission level. So it's important to meet this need in the community and provide this education. I asked Lana about the costs of taping, because we've had a couple of programs in the last year where we wished we'd taped after the fact. So because this is an educational piece, obviously we're not going to film people having refreshments or milling about, but if we could tape the half-an-hour program, because that's a substantive educational piece, and that is something that could air on GTV6 and reach a wider audience than obviously people that will come out for this event, I thought that might be a good idea. What would the costs be if we're able to tape that piece?
To tape on a Wednesday night after work hours is $75 at time and a half, so it would be about $100 an hour for taping, and then $75 to edit the tape for production and showing it. I'm not sure how many hours it would take, but I know for a 13 hours of tape, it took almost a week and a half of editing, so we're not going to have that much, obviously, time. And it's going to be a fairly short snippet of the program that we're going to be showing, so hopefully we'll come in under $500 for the taping.
Okay.
And editing.
Do we have any thoughts about that?
I have a question on exactly what, which half hour are we talking about? I know you said that our city clerk is going to do a presentation, and what else are we planning to have in that half hour?
The Commission's opening remarks, League of Women Voters talking about political participation, and then the City Clerk's presentation.
So basically what happens is you'll come in, you'll mill about, you'll get some snacks, you'll go to the different tables, you'll just sort of meet people and get some information just generally. At some point we will bring the people who are interested in having a presentation to an area. There'll be chairs and a podium, and there will be approximately a 1/2 hour presentation. And that's what is entailed here between 6:30 and what is it, about 7:15? 7
o'clock.
Okay, 6:30 and 7. Thereafter, Artie will distribute the packets so that when people leave, they have in hand, because a lot of times you take that packet, like, I remember I went to the LA Women's Appointment Collaboration Program years and years and years and years ago to find out how to be on a city or county commission, and I never did it. But I had my packet, and I looked at it and thought about it, and then when I saw in Glendale, how to do it, I sort of already knew how, because I had gone through that process. So we want to give people something they can take away, so that it's not that you have to fill out a paper that night and turn it in. You have something you can take home, digest, fill out at your leisure, and submit if and when you make a decision about, it's time to participate and there's an opening. So it would be that half hour.
Well, the way I figure looking at the long view of this, it may take maybe 3 hours, right, to set up, for them to set up and film and then finish. So that would be $300, let's say, for... I'm trying to do a rough estimate of what it might cost us. I don't think it's going to be 3 hours, do you? No.
I don't think it'll be anywhere near 3 hours.
Well, I think as a public service, this would be great. I think it would be terrific to have this so that women out there that might be interested in a commission or might be interested in running for an office, that hopefully there'll be some really good information in this half hour.
So I think it's a great idea. And I think we can always find in our budget a way to get this done.
If we up the proposed budget to $1,200, do you think that would be sufficient to include the costs that are already set forth plus the filming and editing piece?
I do.
Is this the equivalent of what we did a couple years ago at the Sidewalk Cafe? It was a very informal presentation. No, not at all.
That was sort of a debriefing of the women who had run for office.
I see, of course.
How the experience was, their tips on what went well and what didn't, and sort of a guide to other women, you know, to share information about the process of running for office.
So
that was a great,
Yes.
but sort of similar focus, like how to get involved and but more of an informal sharing of information.
And we've really done nothing since, or have we?
Well, we did some voter outreach and education pieces, but then we sort of turned our focus to the DV and the sexual assault. We kind of have that down now. And now, this year being our Focus 2008 on women's leadership and political participation, which is explicitly within our mission, we thought it was time to do this. And I'm hoping that this is something we could do probably every 2 years on a regular basis, because I think it's critical that it's a program you have to keep doing. You know, the Women's Appointment Collaboration does this for LA, I think, twice a year, regularly, every year. And, you know, they're reaching a much larger audience, but, you know, you have to keep getting the word out.
I also want to add that recently the mayor has been proposing that the city council get more involved with TV and getting information out and answering questions for the public, and I think this would be a great opportunity for this commission to get involved in the same sort of service.
And I agree with that. I think that we can get a lot of momentum from this video because it can be shown several times throughout the year, especially as commissions have vacancies. Then they could probably tag something along and say these are the commissions that have vacancies, and then see that piece. So I think it would be a great investment for us to do something like that.
Or I can probably even have a slide of to get a commission packet, you know, call the city clerk's office at whatever, because once we make the packets, we'll have sort of template on hand that we can probably easily reproduce that and keep it fresh. Okay. Commissioner Walker?
Yes, I think it's an excellent idea in terms of really encouraging political participation, especially among women. And I think it shouldn't just be, you know, a biennial affair every 2 years or, you know, once a year. Probably if we do a major one a year and then do some of the informal, you know, we got to be there out in the community and really encouraging participation. So I really suggest, you know, events that are sustainable and not just one-shot, you know, events. Regarding the budget, with my work in terms of, you know, video editing and telecommunication services, I know that sometimes it can be unwieldy, okay? So we got to be specific as to what we really want to focus, what is our storyboard, you know, what, you know, you want to, you know, cover. I know Paula was saying, or Commissioner Devine was saying that maybe 3 hours, because I don't know if you want to cover the introduction so that people get like a glimpse of, you know, what the event was about, okay, in terms of just like a montage or, you know, again, depending on what you really want to conceive, so that it's a continuous kind of presentation, you know, people get the context of what it really is. So, Ms. Commissioner Devine's assessment of probably, you know, beginning to end, I know that that can be reasonable at times, again, depending on how and what you want to cover.
I think actually what she was alluding to is that the costs for them to come, set up, get prepared, film the half hour, and tear down might take 3 hours, rather than suggesting they film for 3 hours, because we're not even going to have a 3-hour program.
No.
I don't think that's what Commissioner Walker means. I think she's
I don't think that we need to film the whole event, but if you, again, want to get the context of the event, okay, and you want to get an introduction, you have to, you know, film how the people, you know, are setting up, or, you know, people coming there, a little, you know, intros here, so that people get snippets, even like 30 seconds of this event or that, and then you focus on the commission on the status of women's, you know, main presentation as the bulk of it, and then you put a little, you know, closure to that. You know, you gotta, you know, when you're planning a storyboard, you kind of plan it that way so that it's more, you know, again, in the context of what the event is about, and maybe a little snapshots or interviews of attendees or, things like that to really make it more user-friendly for the community. That's my suggestion, again, in terms of the experience that I've had in doing some of these events.
And the other advantage Ms. Haddad pointed out is that this could be on our website so that people could watch it from their desktop.
Exactly.
And, so that's really valuable. There'll be the link and you can click on it. I think that's great.
I think, yes, the streaming video is another option, and that you can splice it in different sections so that it's not, too big of a file. And some of the documents can be also archived so that, I don't have the time to watch, the entire thing. Maybe for the video, again, at the end, it points back to the Commission's website, and then how to download the packet, like, slides, PowerPoint slides, as you step 1, step 2, and, blah, blah, blah. So something like that's really easy for people to access information anywhere and anytime.
Okay, so if we have a proposed budget of up to $1,200, that should cover the items that are delineated plus the additional costs for filming and editing as we've discussed. Does anyone want to make a motion to approve up to $1,200 for these items as set forth?
I just have another question or suggestion. Do we only have one potential service provider for video services? Are there other community members out there or companies who probably can do this,
In addition
for
to
free? Because I know Glendale Unified, when they did their event, it was in cooperation with another community videotaping organization, and I think that the services that did the Friends Across Border. Yes.
It was from another company. Someone else filmed it, and it was shown on GT.
Yeah, and it was free for, that. So anything that I think we can do to conserve our resources and at the same time, work with some of the local businesses, that's my suggestion.
On the other hand, it's next week. And we want to make sure we don't have a lot of time to do research in terms of quality of product. And
yeah, if they're professionals, and then Glendale Unified has used it, Friends Across Borders, and so on.
But again, the process of finding another filmer was a long process for Glendale Unified School District and our club. So I think if we go with just the GT6, then it's fine.
I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the budget at $1,200 and do the filming
is there a
for
second?
GTV6.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Is there any further discussion?
Who was the second, please?
Commissioner Manasarian.
Thank you.
Any further discussion?
Are we still talking about the budget here?
Well, there's a motion and a
okay,
second.
yes.
So is there any further discussion as to that motion? Okay. Is there unanimous consent then as to the motion?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. That motion carries. I believe then to get specific, Ms. Haddad, you wanted some direction as to refreshments?
Well, did you just want me to follow up and see if you would rather? I was going to talk to Damon's to see if we could get a catering budget from Mr. Campbell over at Damon's, and they're very familiar with catering at the Alex, so I could do that and stay within the budget. So it's I think that the commission has provided sufficient direction.
Okay. Is there any other item then with which you would need direction for the event?
No, thank you very much.
Okay, great. Then please get the word out, send that flyer. Young women are student commissioners, and, it's going to be time soon for the student commissioners to apply, so we want to make sure that people who are interested come forward and learn about it.
I have other questions or comments. So the Commission on the Status of Women is allocating additional $450,600 for expenses. Is that it?
A total
allocation?
proposed budget of up to $1,200.
Up $1,200 inclusive of everything. Okay. I know that we have other partners, right? We have the League of Women Voters and the city. How are they participating in terms of resources?
Primarily by providing the presentation. League of Women Voters does not have a lot of financial resources for allocation, but we're using them for support, for the information that they do provide. And then the city clerk's office is providing the copy for the materials as well as underwriting the labor for the event.
Okay.
Which is a big cost savings to us now that we've had to pay labor for a few of our events.
Okay, that's good. The other thing is that have we invested on getting some display boards or set up things for the commission so that when we move from one event to another, we kind of have it in place and it looks professional?
We don't have a step and repeat. We have our table, what do you call that thing?
Tablecloth.
Tablecloth.
The bunting.
We have our purple tablecloth. Our signature table fall is pretty much it, and that's the easiest thing to do, obviously, in post. It's always hard to mount things or lug things. Anything like a step and repeat, I think, is too big, and we don't really have that kind of filming where you need the background. So, I don't know. Did you have anything in mind?
I'm just thinking of even just some display boards that are, portable and professional, that it has, like the mission, the vision, what the commission is about, things that we can change in terms of, activities that we have. And like in the other groups that I work with, we carry that out and it's really easy to do that.
Is it Ed?
This really is an agendized item at this point, so if the commission is discussing business before it, it needs to be an agendized item, and that's not an item that's on the agenda. So if you'd like to request it to come back in a discussion for promotional materials and you have some suggestions, please let's work with the chair and we'll get it on a future agenda for the consideration under the brand.
I would like that so that we really work professionally and we also conserve our time and efforts.
I'm sorry, conserve our, what did you say,
Conserving our time and our resources, and also to just give us really a professional branding as a commission.
Any other comments then? Okay. I think that concludes this item, yes? Okay. Next item on the agenda then is 7A2, consideration and discussion of Cruise Night 2008 giveaway appropriations and a motion appropriating funds for the Cruise Night 2008 giveaways. And we have a card. So Ms. Wiseman, please come forward. Welcome.
Chairwoman Curlin, commissioners and staff members, my name is Sharon Weissman. I live in far north Glendale. And first I'd like to thank you for your efforts in curbing violence against women and children. My husband and I enjoyed the Take Back the Night event on April 25th. And in view of the recent violence in Locke High School campus last week, it's clear that we all must increase our efforts to promote nonviolent conflict resolution in our schools as well as in society at large. With that in mind, Glendale Education Social Justice Advocates and the Glendale Peace Vigil, of which I'm a member of both, are again planning on having a booth at Cruise Night. And we too are selecting our giveaways. And I wanted to ask if the materials you are reviewing are all made in the United States with sweatshop-free labor. Another member of both of those groups, Nancy Kent, who couldn't be here tonight, suggested that I ask if any of the material you are considering is made in China, where child slave labor abuses are common. We urge you to consider the ramifications of your choice of suppliers, and while we appreciate cost consciousness when you're spending our tax money, we also hope you will consider environmental and human rights issues in your selections. We must consider the total cost of our consumption choices. I brought some of the items we are going to distribute. There's one in English and Spanish. They're sold as bookmarks. I think they must be for coffee table books. But they're produced by, actually it's a timely issue. They're steps to end violence against women and children in English and Spanish. And it's published by Syracuse Cultural Workers, whose procurement policy I've copied from their website. And I don't have quite so many copies of that, but a few if you'd like to take a look at that. And it is, I know it's very complicated, and if we all were concerned about what we buy, we'd have to grow our own cotton and make our own clothing if, we wanted to be strictly careful. And I know I do carry the plastic water bottle, but I promise you I fill it up many, many, many times before I recycle it. It's not a one-time use. So I know I don't want to be hypocritical about this, and I know it's very difficult to procure things. But they're the Syracuse Cultural Workers, and they're only just one group, but they are very careful to use recycled material, organically grown cotton and dyes, union labor where possible, or sweatshop-free labor if it's international. And I hope you will consider using socially conscious suppliers, and forgive me if you've already made these kind of decisions yourself, and I'd like to know other suppliers, if you can give us some manufacturers that have good policies like this so we can make future informed buying decisions, all of us. So thank you again for your time.
Well, I think your comments are excellent because I think they probably didn't occur to us one bit, and I would venture a guess that every one of the items we've looked at is probably made in China. So while we're home filling our SIG water bottles and buying organic cotton for our babies and born-free bottles, this is probably something that had not occurred to us. So I really thank you for bringing that to our attention, and it probably is definitely something that we should consider in our choices.
Actually, I need to give credit where it's due. This was from Nancy Burnett Kent. So
Well, thank Nancy. Thank Nancy as well. Okay, that having been said, we should note that the items we gave away last year were our nail files, and we were looking for an alternative way to get out the domestic violence hotline number in a sort of innocuous item where people could take that home and have it easily available on something where it wouldn't be readily apparent exactly, what it was. So they would be comfortable having them, and that was a great success. So we weren't sure this year whether we wanted to do more of the same or switch items. So with that in mind, I asked Ms. Haddad to make some suggestions. My thought was, because, if you're like me, you probably go to a lot of conferences and get a lot of free stuff, and it's a lot of cheap plastic stuff, and some of it isn't really useful, but some of it is stuff you probably use a lot or have on your desk or use repeatedly. So I was hoping we would get something that, for our value, is something that is of use and not something that is just a throwaway item. So here's some suggestions where you can see the order costs. We can always order more of something and they get cheaper, or less of a better item, and when they're gone, they're gone. So it's sort of up to us philosophically also what we want to do and what ideas we might have. And then it would have some kind of anti-violence slogan and likely the hotline number again for distribution in the community. So does anyone have any thoughts or suggestions?
I know that last year this was really a popular event, and a lot of people visited our booth, even late at night. A comment that I have is that I know that we were giving out some, candies, lollipops, and that kind of draws in people. But in lieu of, the awareness regarding childhood obesity and, health issues and so on, I suggest that we refrain from, that practice, and maybe instead of, I don't know if there's healthy snacks or something, or some of these giveaway items, because the comment from some of the parents would be, I don't want my children, eating lollipops or some of those candies. So that's a feedback to the commission.
With respect to items, does anybody have any suggestions? Yes, Commissioner Devine.
Okay. In looking over the list, what I did was eliminate the ones that I immediately throw out or give away, and the remaining items were pens, which I think are fabulous, and people use them. They keep them in their women keep them in their purses. They're by the phone, easy to get at. So I think that's a great idea. The other suggestion is the chain light, which I think is fantastic as well, because those little lights can be really beneficial at night, going to car, getting into your car and driveways and stuff. So that on the safety aspect of that one, I think those two really stood out for me, and those are the two that I would like to suggest.
Ms. Lamont?
I would suggest, I like the pen idea as well, and maybe a mini pen, so maybe with a keychain type of a ring on it so that way you can have your key on there as well. That's a good keeper. Something that maybe you put your ID in, and on the other side could be the information. It doesn't have to be a leather like this, but something like that, because we always need something we could quickly get our ID out. And the other is a compact mirror. I've gotten those at some places, and that you really want to have one of those. Small, it can be imprinted on the outside with a website or a phone number, a hotline number, that type of thing. And sometimes you can get them that will come into a sleeve, so it will be hidden as far as information on that to keep it discreet. I think a steel travel mug may be a little too expensive, but nice items. But I think something more can slip into your purse.
I have a question. The prices listed here, does it include imprinting services?
The imprinting is included, however, the art setup fee is not included in that price.
So there's always like a $50 setup fee or something.
60 is their range usually for the website. By the way, the company that we've ordered from in the past, so you can let Ms. Kent know, I believe actually utilize all U.S.-made products. So that's a one.
That's
thing.
at least something. Still plastic,
I don't know
but
about organic
US-made, maybe. We'll take baby steps towards our consciousness of raising.
Ms. Haddad, what is the name of the company?
Forimprint.com. Forimprint.
For the number 4?
Or the number 4.
Okay.
Imprint.
And that's one of the vendors you use. There's another I'd like to submit
Sure.
as well from Pasadena. It's a women-owned business, and it's called the Green Team, but I'll provide that to you
And-
during the week, just for comparison.
Thank you.
And this company is located in?
Oh, they're national. I don't know where their headquarters are. Everybody talks with a Wisconsin accent when I call.
Okay. And being national, sometimes they have warehouses, located everywhere. And so does the cost here include shipping and handling, taxes and so on? So I
This
think...
is the item cost only.
Okay, so I think when we're trying to look at our budget, I know that as a retailer myself, don't just look at the, wholesale price, but sometimes the shipping and handling can be as much as 45%.
We had
And
good
I-
luck last year, that's why we were...
Yeah,
thought to
and
go back.
I like the suggestion of Ms. Lamel, if we have some, again, local vendors, and I know maybe in the community, if we, and I don't know, if we have time, but I think just as the suggestion of our guest here in terms of being really aware of companies with social and moral conscience, I think we also need to be supporting local businesses as well.
Like Steve Rottfogel, I know he specializes in this area, a local businessman, in imprinting, etc.
Excellent.
Did you have more comments? Okay. I think what we should do then, given that, what is today's May, right? We could do one of two things. We can do some more research and come back again in June, but that will leave us shorter on time for ordering for the July event. Or we can approve an expenditure of a certain amount of money and then give Ms. Haddad the authority to do more research and act as she deems appropriate in ordering something, given all of the concerns that have been voiced today, something that best fits our environmental concerns or our labor concerns and our perhaps local use concerns, to find something that's the best fit, at least 2 of 3 or something that we can do to maximize our efforts in that regard. So are you comfortable doing that, or do you want a full report again in June for more discussion? My concern then is we'll have more discussion, and I'd like us to get going on this so that we have sufficient time for the ordering.
Within the direction of the commission.
And I talk to her about 3 times a day, so so I imagine I'd be in that loop. Do you want to do that, or would you like to come back in June?
No.
We do not like to come back in June.
Okay. Given that, what's an amount of money You know, this isn't just so people get free stuff. There's a purpose and a reason that we're doing this. So we want it to be a nice and not cheap, so it's not a throwaway, but also something that has value and meaning, and that the original purpose is not lost of getting the message out.
I also just wanted to bring to the forefront that staff had also recommended a certain amount to be set aside for restocking the HANDS project materials that we have been utilizing for the past 3 years as part of the Signature Anti-Violence Program, which is very apropos of the comments you were making with regards to anti-violence in the schools. This is the program that goes out with Yellow Ribbon Week, and last year we also gave away buttons and magnets for people. So we are actually very low on those things. I think I have maybe a dozen or so of the pins left and nothing else. So inclusive.
It's not a huge amount for both of the things, considering that now that we go to a lot of community events, we need things to put on the table, and we've been giving out the nail files all year, and that's been great. So, okay. Do you still think 3,000 is a reasonable amount?
Certainly, I will mention, though, that if the Commission's direction, and it sounds like there's a lot of interest in going organic and sustainable and green, those things tend to cost more money. So if that's the case, then if you wanted to consider a higher amount, that might be a valid thing to do.
How many
We can put our money where our mouth is.
How many total items are we projecting?
That may be impacted by ultimately what we find out.
I know, approximately.
I don't think we can say until we do more research to see what we're looking at. 500 to 1,000 would be our goal, depending on the item. We may end up finding something that's great that we give less of because they cost more, or something that's wonderful that we give a lot of.
I know, so
depend.
just, you know, maybe looking at this allotments here, we have like 500 to 1,000, and then they range. So the total, probably, what, 5,000 items?
5,000.
No, 500 or 1,000 items.
Per,
No, we're just going to select one, right?
so only one, or?
Maybe 2 or 3.
Like, say
Or
we would
three.
give 500 frosted color keychain lights.
Yes,
We
okay,
would
for instance.
order 500, we would hand them out. When they're gone, they're gone.
I mean, one option that I will be bringing to the chair would be also to do one bigger ticket item and then lots of little, like lots of pens, but then maybe have 500 for the first 500 that come to the table. They'll get, you know, maybe not a steel mug, but certainly something of that caliber, a little
Maybe
bit
a
higher.
coffee mug or something.
Well, the only trouble with the coffee mug, actually, on thinking about it, would be people don't have bags to carry, and it's
Oh, I
a fragile
see, yeah.
item, and you're walking on a
Sure.
street all night. So
Her original idea was a great purple mug, purple the anti-violence color,
that's
and
what I
my
was thinking.
concern was handing them out and getting them broken and not having bags and packaging.
and then you've
So
got a
I
health
didn't want them to be
hazard for
wasted
people holding
items.
sandals and flip-flops in the street. So
Yeah.
just on the to err on the side of safety with that.
Yes.
I think items that would fit in a purse or a knapsack, that would
Yeah.
be appropriate.
In your pants. Okay. 4,000?
Okay.
Does 4,000 seem like a reasonable amount? Okay.
Very generous.
And then if you find something that needs more approval for June, we could always do that, but sort of have it in play, ready to go kind of thing.
Well, actually, though, June doesn't give us very much time. That only leaves 5 weeks, and most of the turnaround is 4 to 6 weeks on these items, unless you
Okay.
want to pay for expedited, which is another.
No, we do not.
So if you want to say up to but not to exceed $5,000, that leaves you safe. I'll be conservative with the money, as I always am. So with the understanding that we want to come in between the range of $3,500 to $4,000.
Any thoughts on that? Okay. Is there a motion?
I so move that we spend up to $5,000 on promotional items or from this list or any list that Ms. Haddad deems appropriate.
I second.
Any further discussion?
I'd like to comment on what Commissioner Curlin mentioned, the need to really hone in on the purpose and reasons why we're doing these giveaways. And I think $5,000 is a lot of money to spend, but I think it's really important in terms of, you know, getting our visibility and, you know, sharing the information and so on. So, again, it goes back to how do we link these promotional giveaways to the objectives and the goals of the commission as well as that event, and then how do we measure, again, the efficacy of what we're doing? How do we measure our ROI on this?
And that comes back to the prevention piece that we always talk about, is that it's very difficult to measure prevention and, education and outreach efforts. So,
Well, and I think the link is the fact that we're giving them a telephone number to call. So this is why we're getting these things, so that they know they have information that we're giving.
But how do we know that it's effective?
I don't think you know. You're never going to know how many calls were made to shelters because of the materials you gave out. I don't think that's something you can ever find out. It's anonymous, it's confidential, and it's not traced to your community. It would never be traced to your efforts. So I think it's just a constant message within our community on several fronts that violence will not be tolerated, violence of any kind. We focus on family violence, intimate partner violence, but all violence with our hands and words are not for hurting. And so I think it's just continuing to get that message out that violence will not be tolerated, and that's the value.
I certainly see your point, okay, in terms of, again, this is what we're trying to do, and, the parameters, the limitations in terms of, allocating resources and doing certain events and so on. But I think it's high time that the commission really adopt the progressive, approach in terms of our ROI and in terms of, our allocation of resources, and also in terms of, adopting objective measures in terms of identifying, again, how effective our programs are. And it's a philosophical discussion, it's a research-based discussion, but again, as I said, it can be done. And perhaps, I don't know, if we have a policy and planning, committee, it's something that we can table and look into, so that when we're doing events, it's got to be, what's our objective here? Okay, what is our goals, our deliverables, and, our evaluation method? And evaluation can be both quantitative and qualitative.
Well, we certainly build evaluation pieces into every event that we have that lends itself to it. I don't know if you have any suggestions. I don't know how we could possibly find out whether people have called the hotline from the materials we've handed out.
That's just one aspect.
What else do you suggest?
Okay, there's, again, different kinds of evaluation methods, and I've discussed the value of outcome-based evaluation, which, I don't think, we have the time to discuss that, but a lot of grant agencies, a lot of, federal organizations and so on are really pushing for OBE. And I think that's a progressive approach, for the commission.
I'm sorry, I don't know what that is.
Outcome-based evaluation. And it's a different kind of thinking, and it allows us to, really measure the ROI on the events and, the resources that we allocate.
And I don't know what ROI is, I'm sorry.
Return on investment.
Okay, ROI. Okay, I'm sorry, I don't know these acronyms, these terms of art in some other field that I'm not involved in. I think we're very conscientious about evaluating the things that we can evaluate. I don't think with prevention that's a challenge. It's always in all of the materials you read about the difficulty of mentioning it. We could look at calls for service and see if they've gone down. We can see if more women have reported. But you don't ever know if those are tied to the outreach and prevention piece you did, or heightened awareness in the community, or other factors. So I don't think you can claim that one way or the other. So I think it's a discussion we can continue to have. I don't think that's one that's easily resolved, and I do think that we should continue to do this work despite the ability. We're not using grant funds, so we don't have to answer to anybody for this expenditure. We do for Rosie, of course, that has an evaluation piece. For many of our other programs, we do. I'm not saying we should take it lightly, but I think that the value in this work is doing the work. And, I don't know what else to say, so.
Oh, and again, it's not a dichotomy here. Okay, and I know that we're trying to do the work that we can in terms of the limited budget that we have and the resources that we have. But what I'm saying is that how do we enhance it so that we get better feedback and, again, better value in terms of the return on our investment? Okay, and what I'm saying is that I know, again, that there is, a lot of, cause and effect issues. I'm not asking for scientific, significant levels kind of discussion and so on, but really when we're planning, just really setting out what is the objective, again, what are the activities associated to that, and what is evaluation. Just like when you're designing a lesson plan, you do those kinds of steps. And I think that's just really being responsive, because I've heard certain comments from, other constituents asking about, okay, how do you know, that you're really doing an effective job? What I want to do is just for the commission to really be proactive and, try to be a little bit more progressive in terms of, the practices that we do. And again, it's not an either or. I'm not saying that we abandon the things that we're doing right now, but again, there's also, other ways that we can adopt so that, again, it's a lot more enhanced in terms of the services that we provide.
Well, maybe this is something that you can take on as a project, because I seem to feel that many times when we have discussions, you raise these issues with all of the things that we're doing. In fact, I often feel like you're sort of working at odds with us in that, you're saying you, and, you're part of us. So maybe this is a task that you can take on and work on, because this is clearly alien to me. I don't know what to do. I cannot think of a way to evaluate a giveaway.
Ms. Curlin,
so maybe this is something that you could take on and bring to policy and planning so that we can look into it to see what might be an appropriate way to have an evaluation piece, because this is too esoteric for me, and I'm not seeing a way to resolve this tonight.
Okay. And if I can add, I think a really good example of how we measure, it's mostly objective, and one of the best examples is the self-defense class that we did. We had an objective, and that was to create awareness of self-defense in this community and to educate women, young and old, on how to defend themselves. We did the classes. We took roll. We had them sign in, so we know exactly how many we had. We also did, if I recall, we did an assessment. Everyone filled out forms on what they thought and about the classes. And so we are doing what you're asking us to. We're just not doing it in mathematical terms. We're doing it more objectively, not statistically. And as far as the giveaways, I agree with Commissioner Curlin. I don't know exactly how we would ever find out how much of an influence or an impact we're making, except that when women get this material, they thank us. When I see them out on the streets, they thank us, and they tell us that they see the programs. Their kids are coming home telling them they are doing this No Child Left Behind, and I know that, not No Child Left, geez, the, I know. Oh, I can't believe I said that part. Yeah, hands and words.
Perish the thought.
So we have, right, no comparison there. So we are getting feedback, and we are getting objective information back from the community that we are making an impact.
I was wondering if Commissioner Walker knew of a methodical way of doing this, and if you do, that would be great for all of us to really find out how to evaluate. I mean, it is very alien to me as well, but I think it will be great if, if you do know ways of evaluating, then we certainly should look at it and see how effective we are in what we're doing. So, I would think that if you could take on something like this, it would be wonderful.
It certainly is a good idea to have an assessment, but of course we need to follow your lead on how we can do that. I do know that Ms. Haddad had mentioned that one of the handouts that we have given over the past of all the services that are offered in the city of Glendale was helpful with a young lady that had called the police to get some assistance from a domestic violence incident, and she received that information from one of the handouts that was given to one of our events. Yes, the yellow handout there. And so certainly there is some impact, even if it's one person that can benefit from what we're doing. But if we're able to put that in a report, and maybe that will help us get grants or see what's the best practices to continue to do, that would be wonderful. But we certainly need to have that presence, and if it's through the giveaways, then I'm definitely all for that.
Also, I think Chair Curlin brings up a great idea that we are talking about prevention. It's hard to measure what's been prevented, including the number of dentist appointments that aren't being made because we aren't giving away lollipops. So all of this falls under that umbrella, and I'm thrilled you're able to take it on.
Yes, and I understand, and I know that Commissioner Sobey here is has a doctorate in education and is, aware of, methods of design and so on. And it doesn't have to really be that scientific, as you know, that there's quantitative
Versus qualitative. And we're talking about qualitative, I think,
Yes. And just, again, evaluation that's, outcome-based.
Sure.
Okay, and, I'd be happy to work with Commissioner Sobey here, maybe looking at, ways on just, maybe reflecting, as what Commissioner Lamel said, on best practices. And Commissioner Chair, I just really want to clarify that I'm not working with the Commission. Okay, I'm trying to offer suggestions on how we can be a lot more proactive, okay, with the community. And it's not that we're not, but there's always, continuous ways of improvement. And I think that, as commissioners here, we're all dedicated to that approach. And that's, the gist of where I'm coming from.
Good. Then I look forward to working with you on this and having you work on this piece for us.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Okay, is there anything else to be said on this? Okay, very good. Our next item on the agenda.
Chair Curlin,
Yes, we do have a motion, yes?
we have a motion on the table still.
Okay. So our motion was to approve up to
But not to exceed $5,000.
5,000. Was
And
there a
granting-
motion and a second?
And I gave the second.
And there's a second. Mhm.
Okay. Is there any further discussion on that motion? Okay. Is there unanimous consent then for that motion? Or would we like a roll call? Unanimous consent? Okay. Very good. Okay. That motion carries. The next item on our agenda is 7A3, the CSW Master Calendar of Events, and we have a motion to provide direction regarding the master calendar. With respect to the calendar, does anybody have anything to add or change?
I move that we accept the calendar do we need a motion on that? We accept the calendar as is?
Is there a second? Second to approve the calendar?
I second.
Any further discussion as to the calendar? We should maybe mention that with respect to September, our Money Matters Salon, the Policy and Program Committee will be working on that. I've spoken to Ms. Haddad, and we've had a lot of requests this year that the focus of our salon be on credit repair. So that seems to be very appropriate, given the tough economic times that people are having in the community. So we thought that would be responsive to our constituency to have that as our next in line topic. So look forward to getting more details on that. And we should be scheduling a date soon, as that'll be here before we know it. We're already talking about venue and other details. Okay, then is there unanimous consent to approve the calendar as submitted? Okay, the calendar is approved. Our next item is 7B, reports information only. 7B1 is the final update on the Sexual Assault Awareness Month, or SAM, activities. Ms. Haddad.
Okay, well, just to give you a summary of attendance for the events, the self-defense workshops provided over about 98 units of service to the community with regards to the attendance there. We did have some repeats, but the individual units of service would be at about 98. We had 188 city employees participate in Dollars for Denim, our Denim Day campaign, and raised $900 for donation to Peace Over Violence. for continuance of their anti-violence work in the community. And Take Back the Night, we saw a very strong attendance of 110 people there, a very good turnout for a very hot day. And we gave away all the T-shirts, and everything was, I think, very good. We got some feedback with regards to the length of the march. So as Susie Jacobs put it, next year, the previous year was too short, this year too long, next year just right. So we're going to be the Goldilocks of marches next year.
Yes.
The budget, as you will notice, did come in at $219 above budget, partly because of some unanticipated labor charges that were not included previous years, so we didn't know to look for them this year. However, that is still a reasonable amount, I think, in terms of the overall cost for an entire month's worth of activities. So I'm very pleased to say that I think we did it very, very well.
And we should be conscious then, as we do our budgets for future events, that labor costs will likely be a part of those now, maybe in ways that they weren't before, and so that we should remember to always allow properly for that, so we're not hit with more surprises as we negotiate our budgets and approve them.
And in fact, the T-shirt vendor who we did use mentioned that he was actually giving us a very steep discount in the price this year because we were working with a limited budget, but that we could expect to spend significantly more money next year. But we can always look for a different vendor, although he's been very supportive. So just a heads up, when we do the budgets, which will be coming to the Commission as a whole for the entire fiscal year, there will be some adjustments in there made for the escalating price of goods right now that we're seeing in the communities.
Yeah, I think we're going to continue to see that, and so, that's also time to be mindful of tightening the reins as we spend money, because it may come in not as freely as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any other comments on SAM activities?
I'd like to make a comment. We had, at these self-defense workshops, we had a great turnout, and I just want to relay this to all of you, that a fellow Glendale commissioner brought her daughter and teenage daughter and her daughter's friend to one of these workshops, and they did all, it was their spring break, and they did a lot of other activities during the week, and at the end of the break, the mother asked the girls, what was your favorite thing that we did on your spring break? And the girls both said this self-defense class was the best. They said it was empowering. They said they loved it. The particular session that they attended, it was quite obvious that there were victims of sexual assault in the group that was there. And the questions that they were asking about situations and how to defend themselves in certain situations kind of gave them away, and really brought importance and impact to these classes. And these girls were most impressed that they learned a lot, and most importantly, they left the self-defense classes empowered, and they came back. They insisted on coming back for the march. And so they did attend the march as well. So I think that that's a good insight into how effective this month of activities was. It was great.
And just so you know, Nelson Neo, who's provided our self-defense workshops to us, is interested in continuing to get as many women and individuals in the community educated as possible, and so he will likely continue to work with us in the future. He wants to sort of brainstorm, so if anybody has any ideas, Ms. Haddad and I will be discussing with him ways that he can keep using us as a forum to bring this type of workshop or exercise into public.
I also think this was a great reinforcement to have him in our Rosie Goes to Wall Street program, because that way we are hitting even more high school girls and now middle school girls, and that's we couldn't be doing a better thing than that. It's wonderful.
Well, I think the thing that's really important to remember is that you're addressing the issue on both sides. Ideally, we don't want women to have to ever utilize self-defense. We want to eliminate violence from our communities. But until that day comes, women need to be empowered to defend themselves when that situation, or if that situation should arise. So I think it's wonderful that we have a resource like Shield Self-Defense, and I think it's even better that we continue to educate our youth, boys, girls, and the rest of the community on ways to have healthy relationships as opposed to abusive relationships. So I think that's just my 2 cents for the moment.
Absolutely. That always occurs to me as we're discussing self-defense, is that we shouldn't have to do it, but while we do. Yes.
I wanted to say something about the Take Back the March. I was there, and while we were marching, we came across a woman that was had some domestic violence, and it was heartwarming to go up to her and ask, we helped her and we said you can call this number, and, she called right away and she asked for help. So I just wanted to bring that to everybody's eyes.
Was she just a citizen along the way?
Yeah, it was by the coffee shops then. We gave her the number to call. So
Okay, there's your evaluation piece.
There you go.
That's anecdotal, yes, everything counts.
We assisted one tangible person in getting materials. So, okay, good. Very good. Okay, anything else then? Okay. Our next item is 7B, reports information only. 7B2, final update from Jules of Glendale 2008 Planning Committee. Ms. Haddad.
The only adjustment I actually would like to make is there's a difference, an increase in the silent auction of about, $230 in revenue that was received since the report was written. So it's actually $18,600 is the revenue for the event.
That's for the total event, you're saying?
That's the net profit from the event.
Net profit, sure.
Mhm.
Not too bad.
Not too bad.
Okay.
The trick will be to
good.
top it next year for a 5-year. Huh?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, good. Any other questions or comments then about our Jules report? Okay. The next item on our agenda is 8, Commissioner and Staff comments. Why don't we just go ahead and go in order? Commissioner Katefian, any comments tonight?
Yes, it was quite informative, today's meeting, especially with the First Lady who came and just to show out Zanta International. It was really interesting to see things that are more international, and we can get used to this type of activities. It will be a better idea to work with such organizations. Maybe that will help us to get more information and at the same time to get more experience with different issues. I think this was the best. And the rest of the meeting, it was very smoothly going, and the comments that Mrs. Walker was doing, it was really informative. Evaluation was very important, even though we try to do that most of the time, but still maybe we need to do more in detail. That was my impression.
Commissioner Lamel?
Well, it's been a pretty busy month for the commission, and I've been able to attend a number of the events that we're involved in. Homeless Connect Day, that was my first time attending that, and I was very impressed with the different services that were available to the homeless that did come by, and they really enjoyed what we had at the table. When I say enjoyed, it was informative, it was useful, it was multifunctional items. So that was a very good thing that we were present that morning, and I enjoyed that. I also attended for the first time, the Association of California Commission Women at Manhattan Beach, and I had a chance to meet about maybe 8 or 9 other commissions, status of women from Northern California and from our surrounding areas, Ventura, Pasadena, and LA. And that was a wonderful opportunity to brainstorm on some things. They were very impressed with what we do when they saw the Rosie Goes to Wall Street DVD. They were quite impressed with the way that we incorporate a lot of our programs into one summer program for the young people. And they wanted to send their congratulations to how well the commission is doing. They're very proud of what we're doing because they were part of the efforts of creating a commission here. And since we're going into our 5th year, they thought that we would be the best choice for the meeting, one of the meetings in 2009, to be the lead host, and that's something we could set for the next agenda meeting. But also Pasadena and LA are interested in co-hosting with us, so we wouldn't be doing this. We thought that we would be a good choice for that. The other is some of the items that were offered and exchanged. One of them would speak to what Commissioner Walker mentioned about a promotional item in the San Francisco Commission on Status of Women, which I'll share with everyone. is a brochure, kind of a pamphlet, and it talks about a message from it would be from the chair, as well as our mission statement and some of the things that we are all we do on a yearly basis, as well as a little background of all the commissioners that are on staff, and that's something very easy that we can do. That way they would be able to see in one sweep of what we're all about. So that's something that I would share, and we can come up with something. And what we also decided to do was to support each other on different events. They all wanted to be the Jewels of Glendale, but sort of kind of slipped their calendar, so I made sure they marked March of '09 so they can all be there, and hopefully we can get some from Northern California to come down. They seem to enjoy our weather. L.A. County Commission for Women has a 10th annual 5K run walk and 10K run for Miss Haddad and those that are ambitious. And this will be on Saturday, September the 13th, and we're inviting the community to come out, 8:30 a.m. at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena. And this will be sort of the official warm-up for the City of Los Angeles half marathon and the LA Marathon. So those who would like to do something in September, you can start practicing for that now. And I think that's about it. Finally, I just want to say congratulations and best wishes to our new fire chief, Harold Scoggins. And on behalf of the commission, I'm sure we all support you in your endeavors, especially to recruit more female firefighters.
Yes. Vice Chair Devine?
Yes. First of all, I'd like to thank Councilman Frank Quintero for his kind words that he had for the commission at the Take Back the Night March. It was very nice of him to come and to deliver his opening, and again, the kind words. We appreciate that when the councilmen take notice of what this commission is doing. I'd like to congratulate the ARS for their very successful Armenian Festival. There were a lot of people there. It was great fun. I think I read there were 10,000 people that came through the auditorium, and I just want to congratulate them on their success. For the women out there that are waiting for the Kenwood Project Women's Bill to begin, please call 626-792-3838. I believe it is June 9th that they are going to start their that women's build at 9:30 a.m. in the morning, so be at the Kenwood Project on that day. Path Achieve and Neighborhood Services, I believe, that put on that homeless connection was a very good event. So much information. Councilman Draymond was there, Councilman Yusefian. It was good to see that they were there as well, supporting this great event. So thank you to all of those people.
Great. Commissioner Manasarian, any comments?
Yes, I'd like to mention that all of us participated in the YWCA luncheon, Legacy Luncheon, and I want to congratulate YWCA for a wonderful, wonderful luncheon. And their speaker, Lisa C., was wonderful and gave us many ideas about Chinese women and the problems that they were having. And I wanted to also mention that we were there as a group, and we were also one of the sponsors, and it was a very successful event. So congratulations to the Y. And also Glendale Healthy Kids, which is a great organization, and I'm a member of, will be having their Taste of Downtown Glendale this Wednesday at 5:30. And the tickets are $25, and they're being sold in front of Alex Theater. I encourage all of you to come out and support that wonderful event and also this wonderful organization. The Glendale Healthy Kids has been supporting the low-income children in health care and providing a lot of health care and dental care for many children in our district, in our school district, as well as in our surrounding areas. So I will definitely encourage everyone to come out and support that event. Also, I was there at the Homeless Connect Day as well, and that was a great event, and I really would like to participate again next year, so you can put me down already. And I felt that there were many homeless people that were there that took advantage of that event and benefited from that. Also, at the ACCW event in Manhattan Beach, which I had a fortune of being there a very short period of time due to a family emergency, there was a announcement that I'd like to make to the public. I'd like to read it. the California Commission on the Status of Women announces public hearings on the issues facing California women and girls. And there is going to be one locally, a public hearing on July 23rd at Lewis Library in Fontana, California. And the information from the hearings will help determine the Commission's legislative agenda, recommendations for administrative action, the state budget, and studies on issues impacting women and girls. And what you should know about giving testimony is that it could be written or oral, and it will help them to determine what direction they need to take in this hearings. And if there is people who are interested in doing testimonies or writing up comments, they should really visit the www.women.ca.gov. Again, www.women.ca.gov. So if you're interested in writing a testimony or making a comment, please do go to that website. And I think that's about it. And I'd like to also congratulate our new fire chief, Chief Harold Scoggins, for his election. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Commissioner Sobey?
I just wanted to encourage attendance at our Women at the Table, Wednesday, May 21st at the Alex from 6 to 7:30. May is Women's Leadership Month, so it's a good appropriate time for as many of us as possible to be there.
Commissioner Walker?
Yes, I'd like to congratulate the American Businesswomen's Association for hosting a wonderful fashion show awareness for businesswomen event. And our very own Commissioner Lamel was the MC extraordinaire. She did an excellent job, even without the script and all. And the association is circulating this wonderful email and pictures and coverage of the event. And another of our Commissioner Sobey, is really being thanked by the association. So on behalf of the association, we thank the commissioners who have participated and who will continue to participate. Also, the YWCA was a wonderful event that we attended, and congratulations to our own Commissioner Manasarian, who is a board member of that of YWCA, for excellent planning and wonderful event. The Asian Entrepreneur Awards is going to be on May 23 at the Biltmore Hotel, and if there's nonprofit organizations there who want to be represented, we're offering free tickets for them. And also, if you have additional members who would like to attend the event, we're offering a 50% discount. So if you're interested, just check Asian Entrepreneur Magazine's website. And lastly, there is a historic event that is going on May 17 at the UCI, University of California, Irvine, and that is the Asian and Pacific Islander American Vote, inviting the public to a historic presidential town hall featuring presidential candidates, Senator Clinton, McCain, and Obama, and it's from 4 to 7 p.m. And I think it's a wonderful opportunity, especially for the Asian Pacific community, to really encourage participation in the legislative and the voting process.
Thank you. Commissioner Kevanian?
I would like to thank the Zonta International program for coming down, and I want to see if, maybe both of us can get into have a program of the Z Club in Glendale, or at least Burbank. So looking forward to going to one of their events and seeing what they actually can offer.
Great. Commissioner Panlaki?
Unfortunately, I didn't get to go to the Path Achieve, which I really wanted to go to. But I called that day and I asked is there any way I can volunteer. And I just want to let the community know that on Fridays that you can be a volunteer as a chef or those scoopers or whatever. I don't know what they're called. But
server.
That too.
But I just want to let the community know that they can volunteer for that, and it's a great charity work that I'm going to be also going to.
Right. And we'll probably do something for the holidays for them, especially now they're taking over the shelters, and keep that fresh in our minds, what we can do to partner with them as well. Okay. Ms. Haddad?
Nothing, thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you. This concludes our meeting. Have a good evening. Thank you.